It's a beautiful day here in Gippsland, and we have sunny days, light winds. Tomorrow we're going to have a patch of frost in the morning with a chance of fog, plus there'll be a slight chance of a shower with light winds. And today we have this show, Business, Wealth and Mental Health. It's a show that explores thriving businesses, wise financial management and peaceful relationships are better for your mental health. And today I have in the studio with me Mr. Jason Rantall. Jason, pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks, mate. Pleasure to be.
Fantastic to have you here. Let me just double check that the mic is working. Can you give us a yell out to the studio?
Hello.
Yeah, that's working. Good
to be here.
Fantastic. Great to have you on the show, Jason. And what I wanted to talk about was your background in mental health. What's your personal experience that led you to creating the organisation BetterMentall?
Lived experience, Damian. I was diagnosed with bipolar and OCD and psychosis, depression, all these things back as a 24-year-old. But prior to that, I knew there was things not right for me emotionally, and I was very different to others, and I wasn't dealing with life at all, even from a very young age. And I used alcohol from the age of 14 to try and get me through that, and I did that up until the age of 44 with obviously not a lot of success. Broken relationships, financial trouble, not knowing who I was, and it got to a point where I was in psych wards and attempts on my life, and things were really bad. So it affected every aspect of my life because I was living a life of addiction to try and better my mental health, which we know doesn't work. So at 44 years of age, I started to make changes, and from that, I've found a way to live well, to thrive, and not just to exist. And I want to give back. So we started off with just a support group where we met on a Tuesday night, and it's grown since then.
So when you're talking about this, you're 44 years old. What was the trigger? Because you obviously went through a lot of ups and downs, struggled getting through the day, basically. What was the thing that actually drove you over the edge that actually caused you to say, hey, I need to do something differently?
Yeah, there was many times over the period that I tried to do things different, but it got to a point where my wife, we just had our little fellow River, who was our seventh child between us, and things were really bad. I was drinking excessively. I wasn't in a good place, and my wife had had enough. She tried to support me for many years, and she gave me an ultimatum: either fix things, start to change things, or that's it. So I had a choice there, Damien, whether I continue down that path of destruction that I'd lived for 44 years, which is a long time in the wilderness, and I'll make change. And I didn't know how or if I could, but I made the choice. As I said, I've tried many times in the past to change things, and I made the choice to give it my all, to keep my family, and that was the defining moment then.
And what do you think was the actual driver behind that before you got to that change point? What would you think was the driver behind you actually going through that destructive phase?
The destructive phase has been going on since I was young.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I want to get to is why, what caused you to, what do you think was the cause of that destructive part of your life from early on all the way through to your 44?
Okay, yeah. I had a challenging upbringing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of addiction. It wasn't a settled household. We lived in commission homes and very socioeconomic. We were low on the scale. Life was pretty tough as a kid, but I also had this underlying thing of bipolar and OCD and those things that I had no idea how to manage. I had no emotional intelligence. I had no idea how to manage these things. And like I said, at the age of 9, my mum recalls that I actually told her that I didn't want to live. So at the age of 9,
wow.
She called me with my head in the toilet at the age of 9 and asked me what I was doing, as a mum would. And I said, I don't want to live, I want to die. So from the age of 9, that's a very young age. So I'd battled these demons in my mind and not able to understand what's going on for me. And I had all these different things in my mind that I knew weren't normal by conversations with my friends. And at the age of 14, I was with a mate, and we found it was Halloween, we found 6 stubbies of beer. They were hot, and we put them in the river, in Jackson's Creek, I believe it's called, in Gisborne. And we went down there and sat and drank them, and I get emotional still because that's the first time in my life I ever felt peace.
Really?
Yeah, so I drank alcohol, and I obviously then went, well, this is the answer, because I'd seen doctors. Back then, mental health wasn't talked about, and you actually was told pretty much don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So to feel that and have all these people around me that couldn't help me find peace, and I couldn't find peace, and then there's this one thing that I did find peace, and that was alcohol. And obviously I used that then for 44 up till the age of 44, and it didn't serve me well in any way, but I don't know.
So it was a short-term sort of fix, but it wasn't a longer-term
solution. Yeah. So anything temporary, Damien, is temporary. Like anything external of us, when we're trying to find peace within from something external, it's only very temporary. It doesn't last. So once that's gone, it's even people that buy the new cars or work too hard and all these things, and anything that doesn't serve us well, that we repeat becomes an addiction, which an addiction is a habit that doesn't serve us well.
Yeah.
So I used this, and it kept me locked in the pain. It had released me from the pain for a very short period of time. So it was giving me out the front, but stealing out my back pocket.
Yeah.
So for that one thing, alcohol, I lost, in the end, over time, I lost nearly everything.
Yeah.
And when I gave up that one thing, I started to gain back everything. Yeah. So one thing nearly took everything, and then one thing being released gave everything back.
So you had that short-term solution, as you said, you put the stubbies in the river to make it nice and cool to drink.
Pretty smart, really.
Yeah, it was very clever. People. This is very innovative. The part before we move on to, I just want to reach out to anybody, and Jason has talked through his experience there and of wanting to not be around and not on the planet. If anyone is feeling that, because it is a topic that you can feel very alone. If anyone is feeling that and listening, please reach out to someone. You can reach out to Jason or reach out to somebody, because there are a lot of people that do care and will listen if you reach out. So don't be afraid to reach out to someone if you're feeling that.
Definitely don't go it alone.
Yeah, no, definitely. So with that, where did you think your self-esteem fits into that picture? What was that part of you wanting to find this solution outside of yourself?
Yeah, I look back now, I had no self-esteem. And the self-esteem was lessened and the self-worth was lessened the more I tipped this garbage into me. Yeah. So over time, as a young person, I was very vibrant. I was quite intelligent. I was good at sport. I had friends, and I had all those things. But there was something in me that didn't feel right, and I went external because, and that's what I want to help it with is emotional intelligence and regulation, and is more important than any other intelligence, because once we can find how to regulate and how to be emotionally in touch with ourselves and find peace from within, then nothing external can really hurt us. Yeah. So when we're looking external of ourselves, it's always temporary. We buy the new car, we feel great, and then 2 weeks later we go, I've got to pay for this thing now, it's not so great anymore. But there's always, it's that temporary fix, but that it always keeps us in the pain we're trying to remove ourselves from.
What about that self-perception? Because you mentioned that you were good at sport, you're good at a lot of things, you're quite intelligent, yet you didn't feel good about yourself. How does that self-talk, where you've got all these things that actually you're quite good at, and then you don't recognise that? Is that part of the picture?
Yeah, I did recognise it while I was in it, but then when I wasn't in it, when I was on my own, I lacked any worth. I didn't like myself. And I can't look back at the exact point why, but it's been from a very young age. So I recall, even from well before 9 years of age, I recall me just, I'd be out and I'd be with friends, and I'd have this persona that I was had everything together, but I would go home and scream myself under the pillow. I'd punch the walls. I just couldn't. I didn't know what was going on in me.
So what was that? Tell me, because you're out there, as you said, you're out there and you're feeling good, and you go home and you're alone and you're not. So what was that transition?
Being alone and my thoughts. My thoughts, I lived with intrusive thoughts that would get me, and I would latch onto them, and they'd take control. I would lose control to whatever those thoughts were. Now, I do look at it, like I said, I'm not going to go into my everything that went on as a family, because my mum did the very best she could with what she had, but it was a very challenging time.
Well,
and
let's touch
I
on
know,
that though, because a lot of times we can look at
Yep.
Our life and go, oh, this was terrible, and I didn't have the opportunities everyone else did.
Yep.
But we don't notice that the good things that we did have as well. Because I mean, I look at my childhood, and there was things that when I compare it to other people, I missed out on.
Yep.
But there was also lots of really wonderful things I had too.
Yeah.
How does that relate?
Yeah, there wasn't. It's hard to explain because as a family unit, my dad left when I was 2 years old. My mum was only very young. She was 17 when she had me, and then 19 when she had my brother, and then she was left to her own devices, and she had no supports.
Yeah.
So it was very challenging, and then remarried, and that didn't work. Had my sister, and then remarried again, and that didn't work. So it's been very challenging for a kid. And I lived
that's very common too. Like for kids, when a parent, they don't even have to break up. When parents fight, the kids generally think it's their fault. There's countless studies that show that.
Yeah, I end up being a people pleaser because when you don't get the loneliness, the abandonment, and all those things. But when you do something special, you get noticed, or when you do something bad, you get noticed. So I became a people pleaser, and up until very recently, that was very prominent in my life, being a people pleaser. But then always wanting to please, but then overdoing it, and then resenting doing it. So I took on far too much.
Too much of yourself.
Yeah, and everything had to be perfect. In my world, I made myself look like I had everything going on, and this is why I do the work I do, because I don't want people to hide. I don't want people to go alone. I made my world look so good around me.
Yeah.
Like I always did myself up the best I could. I always did the very best. I was the best at my job where I was, and all these things so that nobody noticed how bad things were for me.
So you're overcompensating.
Oh, 100%. I covered everything. My friends from years ago that I was drinking with thought that I was the funniest, had my shit together, like the world's great for Jason. Because when I was out drinking, I was party, and I would hold that. I would try and hold that, knowing that the crash was coming.
Yeah.
So I'd get the music blaring. Everything would be exacerbated so that I could keep that going, because I knew the crash of the depression of the bipolar was coming. So I lived this lie to the world, and that my friends didn't even know. So I look back now and I think, why? We got to break these stigmas, because if I had spoken to my friends and they had been there for me and supported me, things could have been very different. I don't want to change anything either, by the way, because
you wouldn't be the person.
No, I wouldn't be right. And going back to what you said about blame, and then I did a lot of things in my life that weren't good. So then I have blame and shame and guilt and all these things, shame and guilt, and they drive the need for addiction. So the more I drank, the more things I did wrong or that weren't in good light, and then the shame and guilt kept me locked in. So I'd have to drink to cover the shame and guilt, and the drink would cause the shame and guilt, more shame and guilt, so I'd drink more. So it was this perpetual
So where
thing.
does the self-forgiveness fit into that?
That's a very important aspect, and that's still a process, but forgiveness is the biggest thing. Not only of forgiving yourself, but forgiving others as well.
Yeah.
Because if we can't forgive others, then we hold that. The thing that you get out of it, you get the most out. You get freedom from forgiving someone, because you think about how much you hold something in when you have something against someone. I hope they don't get this. Oh my God, did they just win touch lotto, or did they get the new car? Oh my God. And we have all this hate, so they don't even know what's going on for you.
Yeah.
So forgiving is you getting the gift of forgiveness. So to forgive somebody else doesn't mean you have to do it for them, but do it for yourself. But forgive yourself, and it is very hard. But I look at them now as experiences that I've had. All these experiences I've had in the past, I don't look at them as good or bad anymore. I see some of the worst experiences in the time that I had, in the moment, turned out to be the best experiences I've ever had. Some of the best experiences in the moment turned out to be the worst experiences I've ever had. So I don't go by good and bad anymore. Nothing I see is good and bad. I see them as life experiences, because then when I don't tag them and say that they're bad, then I'm not avoiding things in life, because when we say something's bad, or we try and avoid it, so we miss out on that part of life. So I look at no aspect of life as good, bad, or anything. I see it as an experience that I can learn from. And if I hadn't had the experience I had back then, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now and living the purposeful life I live. So as much as I wouldn't change it, I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, well, there's that too. But I mean, what you're talking about is nothing is good or bad. I mean, Shakespeare wrote about that in Hamlet. It was nothing is good or bad. Thinking makes it so. And as you said, in the time, it was a really terrible experience. But now, when you look back at it, it made you who you are to be able to do what you're doing, to help people with what you're doing.
Well, the very thing, bipolar and all these things that nearly took my life are now the reason I live. So have a look at the disparity. That's just complete opposite.
Yeah, I've heard that story so many times from people that I've interviewed around the world that had the same experience. A friend of mine in San Francisco jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, broke nearly every bone in his body, and he wanted to die. And until he hit the water, then he went, I don't. Now he's helping tremendous people, and it made him who he is today. And it sounds like you had a very similar experience.
Oh, 100%. And I look at all of it now, and like I said, it's experiences. That's what they are. And this is life. This is how life is. If I wake up, and I think the worst thing to do is aim for happiness as your goal, because you're going to be very miserable, because that's not achievable. So look for peace and contentment. And the way we can find peace and contentment is learning how to understand ourselves and our emotions, and being okay with who we are and not fighting that, and being who we are, being our true selves.
So tell us a bit more about BetterMentall and how you got that up and running. What was the driver behind that? And I use the word running there very specifically because I believe running, and so it wasn't. Tell us about your running experiences as well, and how that links to BetterMentall and what you're trying to achieve.
Okay, well, running, I don't like to say it is the defining thing that saved my life, but is the thing that started the change.
Yeah.
So the day Kerry told me and gave me the ultimatum, I made a decision to give up smoking. This is the first thing I decided. Give up smoking. I don't know why that, but give up smoking and start running. Those were the two things I decided to do the next day, and I had to show her. Like, I told Kerry 1,001 times that I'm going to change. This was the point where she said, I have to see something. This is no longer. So I started running. I ran 2Ks. I recall it was about 40 degrees in February.
So you've never running before?
Yeah, never run. I had stubbies on, the short stubbies. Yeah. So I'm thinking about using them in my running stubbies. I had stubbies, old New Balance runners that I found because I didn't really have runners, and I think it was a work top, and I ran 2.3 Ks around the hills. And I got back, and Kerry said to me, this is not a good idea. This is going to kill you. I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
So from that, all these other things happen, and we can't go into all those, but there's been a change upon change. If we change one thing, not only one thing changes, it sets off a course of things that continue to change. So,
and compounds too.
Yeah, massively. So the running has been huge in my life, but all that was the start. That was the seed that I planted, that I continue to use today. So the running's been huge for me, and that got me starting to get well and starting the physical aspect of it, which doesn't fix the internal side of it, and it did become an addiction, but it was something that started the journey. A lot more work on the inside now. But so then Kerry and I started a support group in Traff. It was just Tuesday nights in a little house in Traff, and I was screaming from the rooftops, all you have to do is run and eat healthy, and everything goes away. Soon found out that's not the case. But from that, we saw a need. People were coming to hear lived experience stories, not only of myself, but Kerry as a support person. Because Kerry can teach people so much. There's so much enabling that goes on in these relationships.
Well, people don't really understand how much it impacts the other person in the relationship.
Yeah. And the impact is still, Kerry still holds some of that. And it's been a long journey for her too. So the support people, because Kerry does lived experience speaking as well and works with people, and her experiences as a support person is huge because they empower other people that are support. Because we need to empower them too, because imagine a disempowered support person trying to help someone that's disempowered and living with addiction. It's not going to work. We need to empower them and give them hope. They need hope that their loved one can thrive and change their lives.
And how much is, with the groups that you've started, is community an important part of that, bringing people together? Because a lot of people, and I've been to, I've been to a number of the sessions that you have, and it seems to be there's a diverse range of people there. And some of them probably don't need to be there, but they're there to support others. How much is it important to, when you actually help others, how does that help yourself?
Oh, hugely. There's a sense of belonging, and we all need it. Every one of us, because if we don't find a sense of belonging, we all need community, we all need connection, we all need belonging, and we are going to find it in healthy environments, and if we don't, we're going to find it in unhealthy environments. And those unhealthy environments are drugs, alcohol, and these other aspects, because we want to belong. So if we can't belong in the community in a good area, we'll find somewhere to belong. That's a human need.
Yeah.
So with our community, as you said, it's so diverse. We've been running it for I think 5 years, somewhere around there now. The range of people that come, but when they come, they stay because they find that it helps them internally, but that they get to catch up with other people, like-minded people. They feel comfortable because they know what we do. We don't sit and focus on mental health and addictions and things like that. We build rapport with people.
Coming, I believe.
Yeah, but they come. People come. We build rapport, and then they speak because we tell people go and speak. But they go, "Where is this place we speak of?" So people speak when they get to know someone, when they start to build rapport, when they know that they feel comfortable, when they feel welcome. We make sure the doors are open for all people, and we state that come in. So it's just a sense of belonging, feeling they can speak. We have guys now that 3 guys that. It's the only place that they were coming to at one stage. They were that isolated that they were on their own, and that's what the world of addiction and mental health does. It takes everything from us. We slowly isolate, and our barrier, our walls, our boundaries become our house and our bedrooms. So they've come out to our community, they've got out of their house, and that has integrated them back into the wider community. So just by coming there, talking to people, feeling like they belong, we've had 3 of the guys now cry after a certain amount of time and say that they've never cried and they feel so much better and they're able to express themselves. Now,
I'd like to explore that a little bit more because we're running a bit short of time. But I do want to talk about and plug what you're doing. So tell us about the running side of things, and because you've got a big run coming up, and we've got that here for those that are watching on the video, but you're going to run 3,249 kilometres over 100 days. How can people get involved, but also how can people support that? What do you need from people to actually make that happen to help other people?
Yeah, cool. Someone can run it for me if they like.
Stop looking at me.
There's lots of ways to support, and the easiest way is to jump on the website. You can just type in www.haveachatrun, and that'll take you to the website page. It explains why we're doing it. There's multiple reasons why we're doing it. Have a chat. We want people to. We want to bring people together. So I want communities to come together. So. People can sponsor it by having their logo on a running top. Every day I'm going to have a different sponsor on the running top. That's all on the website. They can have me come and speak at an event.
And how much is it important to get those sponsors? Why do you need the money? Where's it going to go? To help people? Yeah.
Well, for us, as a not-for-profit now, BetterMentall, because Kerry and I in the past have self-funded this, so we've started not-for-profit hoping or planning on getting grants and being able to keep this going, be sustainable because we can't.
Because that's the other thing I noticed in talking to you and getting to know you. You and Kerry have put in a lot of your own money to make this happen and support people. But really, it would make your life easy, especially because how many kids you got now?
7.
7 kids.
Yeah.
So with 7 kids and supporting others, you need that financial support.
Yeah, we do.
It's like the community radio station here at Gippsland FM. We're connecting community. We need some community support. We appreciate all the people that support it. You're in a similar situation. Is that right?
Yeah, we are. And we want to keep this going, but we've got so much more we want to do because we're not only financially hard, it's time-wise. So we want to step into this more and be helping more people because we see the change. You said about the community, the change of the people that come in to our community is huge. And
I've seen it in the workshops that we're running. I've seen people physically go through a change and then they've come the next workshop and they're a completely different person, as in for the better.
Yeah. And this is why we want to keep it going. So we've got a whole range. People can run with me. We've got the launch day on July the 11th. Now, the launch day, the reason for July the 11th and the Have a Chat is that a family that come to our community, and I met Steve and Tash 2 years ago. They came into our hub a week after their son had passed away, taking his life. Yeah. So that's the anniversary of Lucas. And the Have a Chat is because Steve and Tash have come up with this concept of a Have a Chat chair, which is there's one at Willow Grove at the cafe out there, Willow Main, and there's going to be one at our hub. So it's to promote people to come and have conversations and start to come together and start to open up and talk and break down these stigmas. And because going it alone, we continue doing the same things because we're where we are because of what we know and what we've done. So when we have other people involved and have supports and different people, we get a different perception. And you talked about the mind before. When we see a different perception, we've got a different idea. It gives us hope and empowers us to create our own better life and for ourselves. So they can sponsor it by having their, I think there's still 50 spots left. So the first 50 days of logos on running tops done.
Fantastic, you're already halfway there.
Yeah, they can...
it's like Bon Jovi.
They can buy a beanie. I shouldn't do that. There's beanies on the website. They can have me speak at an event. There's organisation raising events where they're having music and so forth, which on our open day, our launch day, there'll be, on the 11th, there'll be a guy singing, Chris Newman from here singing.
Fantastic.
Chris is singing.
And this is the part about community as well. We're all connected and support each other, and you get those endorphins going, the dopamine and serotonin feel good by helping people.
You do. And then barbecue, $1 gold coin donation, and then I'll be speaking my lived experience story to people. And then we're heading off for a walk to the back of the footy oval in Trafalgar, 2.5 Ks, going to call it the walk and talk. And then I'll run, there's a 6K loop around roads, I'll run 5 laps and people can walk or ride or whichever they choose around that as well. So there's lots of different ways to get involved. There's the GoFundMe on their website. So, but the whole reason for this is to get people engaged, get community engaged, get people talking about this, break down stigmas, inspire people through my own lived experience, empower people, give hope. So that's the reason for 3,249 Ks is because sadly that's how many people took their lives in Australia in 2022.
Beautiful. Jason, it's been a wonderful experience having you on the show, sharing your life experience and how you're helping people. And too, if you are listening and you're feeling like you don't want to be here, please reach out to someone like Jason, or reach out to anybody and just let them know, have a chat. And if they can't help, no doubt they will forward you on to someone that can. Jason, it has been a wonderful pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much. We look forward to having you back at another time, but we need to cut now to the news because we're way over time. Hopefully the button works. Let's see.